All righty. Well, I'll wrap the gavel. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first continental webinar hosted by the American Volkssports Association, America's Walking Club. Joining us this evening and being recorded, as you know, from the very moment you signed in, is our folks from our friends from the Canadian Volkssport Association. We had a very wonderful conference. Joined them at the conference up in Penticton in the Okanagan Valley. A wonderful trip, and a lot of pictures were showing. Let's see. With us that I can see right now, Doug Jackson, the Vice President of the CVF is with us. David Hall signed, or at least registered. David, are you on with us? I can't see everybody that's with us right now.
David might be late.
That's fine.
He's in the middle of a house move.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. We have some other guests with us. Let's see, Brenda, are you with us from Brenda Dudfield from, no, not yet. We have Mish, why don't you, with the very unique headphones there. She is the executive assistant for the IVV-Americas and leadership team. And we're very, very fortunate to have her with us as well. I'm going to turn the microphone right now and the gavel over to our brand new IVV-Americas Vice President representing the America's Walking Club, Bob Morrison. Morrison, thank you so much for joining us for the Great Northwest. Up there, I guess you're at the Northwest Conference right now, but thank you, sir. The gavel is yours to help take us through the opening segment of introducing the IVV-Americas and why does it exist and what's our plans.
All right. Well, thank you. As everybody knows, the AVA was able to get approval from the board of directors to join IVV-Americas, and we think that's we're very excited about it, and we think it's very significant because it kind of fills in the North American part of the partnership. Let's see. It's taken kind of a long time for us to get involved, but I think we bring some new energy to the collaborative experience of the three members, the CVF in Australia and AVA. So at least in the early stages of that, we think Tim Miner's AVA program committee is really going to be an integral part of that. As we move on, there may be other things that we do in partnership with IVV-Americas, but at least early on, just getting some good programs that meld us together is going to be very important. So thank you everybody for supporting Volksporting. We think this is going to be a very exciting period in our endeavor.
Well, Bob, thanks so much for that. And I'm going to ask Doug Jackson as the senior representative of the Canadian Volkssport Federation that's currently on. Doug, why don't you say hi, and why don't you tell us a little bit about our friends in the North and the CVF and what's going on up there in the Great North.
I'm Doug Jackson, Vice President, Canadian Volkssport Federation. We're alive and well up here. Not successful in many ways. There's definitely a decline in most clubs' membership and walk participation. We're doing our best, to have events and social things happening to encourage people to belong. I really feel that since COVID, that we are as much needed as a social club as we are a walking club. And here in Vancouver, we're trying to put as many social events on as we possibly can. And here in Vancouver, it's working fantastically. So looking forward to the IVV-AO to see how it's going to help, and hopefully there will be some initiatives, put forward by the IVV-AO that can help folk sporting internationally.
Well, that's great, and thank you for that extemporaneous speech. Nobody here has been tasked to do anything, so this is all extemporaneous, but the idea is to offer us the opportunity to ask questions about why did America's Walking Club end up joining the IVV-Americas. What is the expectation of it? Perhaps one of the questions on the table is actually the change in name and actually including Oceania. Bob, could you talk to us a little bit about that and why the idea of a name change?
Well, sure, I can. The name change is really, Oceania is really an effort to be more inclusive of Australia and the South Pacific Islands. Now, at the last meeting I was at, there was discussion about whether or not we could actually change our name without the approval of IVV, because in their bylaws, I believe it is, or at least in their governing documents, they have us listed as IVV-Americas. And so we'd like to change that, but we may have to wait until 2024 in order to actually do that and go to IVVs to get them to adjust their governing documents so that we're in sync with that. So, but the reason was simply to be inclusive.
And that's great. Perhaps you might discuss where this idea came from. Was actually two board meetings, or the quarterly board meetings ago. The America's Walking Club Programs Committee actually asked the board of directors to consider joining the IVV-Americas. It was something that had been considered several years ago. It was not accepted at that time, but the program committee felt as though it was something really important for us to do, especially with some of the unique programs and activities that were about to take place, in particular the 2023 IVV Olympiad, the very first in all of the Western Hemisphere. Everybody talks about it being the first in the continent, but no, this is the first in the whole Western Hemisphere. And so we can talk globally now. And from that acceptance, our president, Nancy Wittenberg, who sends her greetings to her, to all of you. She is on her way to the Northwest Regional Conference right now and probably will be joining us late if she can arrive there in time. But she appointed Bob to lead that committee. Bob, can you talk to us a little bit about the committee? Carl Cordes is on, I'm on, and talk to us about what it was this committee did and recommended, and why it recommended an America's Walking Club join with the IVVA.
Well, sure, I can. Some years ago, I think about 2015, a number of us really tried to get, at that time, AVA into IVV-Americas when it was being formed. And at the time, in fact, it was being formed by Kurt Myron, who was in Bellingham. And so it was going to be a U.S. corporation. Well, of course, there were just so many questions about, there were a number of people who were fearful that that IVV-Americas would make financial commitments that would burden AVA. So coming back to visit that a few years later, there's been a complete change in the board of AVA. And so I just happened to be walking with Nancy Wittenberg one day, and she says, I've got to put together a committee to do something with IVV-Americas. And I said, so a little bit later, I said, well, you know, if you need somebody, I could be on that committee. And I was always a big supporter of it. And so a little later, she says, well, I've got to find a chairperson for that. And I said, well, you know, there are probably better people to do that, but if you need, I'll chair it. So she called. So it was kind of like, just kind of fell into it. And it wasn't long before she said, okay, yeah, that's what I want to do. So, so the committee was comprised pretty much of people broadly dispersed across the U.S. There were a couple of us from Washington State, simply because we have lots of international relations. We've always had walks where we walked across the border and collaborated with the Surrey Trekkers, and have been big participants in the Vancouver Island walks and that kind of thing. So there were a couple of us, and then Tim was on there, and let's see, a fellow who was a regional director, Tom Baldus, was on there. And so we just got together, and it didn't take us very long to outline what we wanted to do. And I started with, well, why don't we overcome the objections that existed? We did put those in the final report, but it certainly wasn't the way it, but it was way down. People didn't feel we should dwell on the objections. One of the objections was, would it jeopardize our tax status or CVF's tax status? Well, in fact, you know, I did a little research on that and have a background in that sort of thing. So I was able to do enough research to document that, for the most part, what happens with nonprofit laws is they're not really so interested in what you do as long as your mission qualifies for a tax exempt status. What they're mostly interested in is the things you cannot do. And of course, the big thing you cannot do when you're a nonprofit is have profits inure to the benefit of individuals in the organization. So we were able to overcome that. So the committee worked pretty hard on that for several meetings, and then we got together with the entire IVV, and they were able to fill in the answers that we didn't have about finances and about where they see the organization going in the future. And so then, with the good leadership of Nancy Wittenberg, who took very firm position with respect to the board's ability to approve that, it passed unanimously at their last board meeting in May. So we're very excited to be here.
Well, very good. Thank you so very much. I guess at that point, I'm going to turn it to one of our representatives from the IVV-Americas organization. Mish, you're, again, she's the one wearing the cat headphones, which I am just coveting terribly. But why don't you introduce yourself and introduce what has the IVV-Americas been doing since its formation while you're waiting for us to come and join you?
Okay, mostly, now my husband worked with Kurt to design the special program that you have seen, the Walk IVV-Americas Challenge. They worked on that together. And as the executive assistant, my job, of course, is to look after that. For the most part, when we originally started with, it was Canada, Brazil, and Australia. Brazil, they were having problems and were only really in there for about 2 years. And so it then became just us and Australia. And we have tried to promote, but so I think we fell short because without our lovely neighbors to the south, we're kind of, you know, where can we promote it other than in the two countries that we already are? We want it to be everyone. It's the inclusivity of it, we know all our walking friends from everywhere want to, you know, be able to sort of not so much ignore the borders as, you know, hey, I can do, you know, we can put something on together as the two organizations, or we can put something on with Australia. We can really, for me, it's us working together to make something that when we go to, if there's something that's strictly a North American thing that, you know, that's a problem for us, that we can, where we can work together as a team to resolve that problem. We can bring it to the IVV itself and say, listen, this is, have you had any problems like this? This is something that some of our clubs are running into. This is what we have come up with, this idea. We can present to them and say, you know, what do you think of this? Can we go? So we'll, you know, we can then, the organization can sort of take the mid ground and be sort of a buffer. If there's something happens that is just, yeah, if something happens that's just in Australia, well, instead of Australia, the country just going to try and work it out with that, we can bring together and sort of buffer it and work with them with the IVV. So that's my thoughts on it anyway.
Again, thank you. And you mentioned the IVV-Americas program. That's appeared in social media. And for those who don't know about it, the AVA Special Programs Committee has adopted this as our own program as well, and we will be administering it. And you will see it appear on our website as well as an additional special program. What it is that for either $10 or $12 US or $10 or $12 Canadian. And by the way, it is really a good deal to deal in the US currency rather than the Canadian currency. Just saying right now, by the way. Yes, it is. We're 80 cents to their dollar, actually, is what the exchange rate is about right now. Yeah. So anyway, for that amount, and if you start looking, you're going to start seeing links to a sign-up form, and you'll send it to me, and I will send you an application, and we can do this on the internet. And basically, you'll be collecting 20 IVV stamps anywhere in the countries of Canada, United States, Australia. Right now, those are the current countries involved in the program, and that's any 20 stamps. Doesn't mean you have to move between countries to do this, but there's a unique patch for it, and it helps promote the idea that we are something bigger than ourselves. And that's really what has been missing from many of us, is the concept that we are something more than just America's Walking Club, or we're just the Canadian Volkssport Federation, and we are a stepping stone. Bob, do you think that the IVV-Americas and Oceania, if we ever come to that, will actually get to the point of actually sanctioning its own events? Is that something that's a possibility?
Well, it is a possibility. From what I've heard, IVV is not really opposed to that if we were to go to them and present some events that were outside of our own countries. Of course, they're not going to let IVV-Americas sanction walks in Canada or any other member country, but they're not, as I understand it, opposed to us sanctioning walks elsewhere. I think the way it will work is that originally we will identify walks. Let's say, for example, the Caribbean islands. If all of the Caribbean islands that are on cruise ship destinations had a walk someplace in them, so people who are taking cruises could go down there and do an IVV walk through the towns. We would end up having to sanction those through IVV. But I think as we show them that we are maturing and are capable of doing that sort of thing, I think they'll provide us the ability to sanction walks directly ourselves.
Very good. Well, thank you. I think it sounds like there's some great opportunities. If anyone has any questions, down in the bottom menu of Zoom is a reactions button that allows you to raise your hand. There's also a chat function. You're welcome to type a question in, even if it takes you a few minutes while we perhaps transition to some other topics. If you have questions about anything, now's the time to ask it. I'm hoping that our folks in the Canadian Volkssport Federation will reciprocate this and actually host their own Zoom session for us, maybe in a couple of months from now. Perhaps we can have a best two competition or something like that online. We'll have to let them explain to you what a toque is. That's a unique Canadian term that I have come to learn. I invited them into us. They had to provide their own beer. I haven't seen any cans of Moosehead or anything like that, or anything like that on screen yet. But again, our goal is to create an online party situation. All right, so yes, we're already getting affirmations that an online Canadian. So in a couple of months, we'll probably, especially when things are really cold up there in the north and you're snowed in, we'll have you host the online parties. But I'm hoping that we can alternate every couple of months and have you come and join. And yes, my wife reminds me that I'm drinking California wine at the time, so that's my contribution to this as well. So anyway, any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our we do have 3 international events, 2 of them back to back coming in February. So anyway, I'll turn it over to our Henry Rosales down in San Antonio, our president down there. Henry, thanks so much for joining us this evening, sir. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to you. Why don't you tell us what's in store for us down in Texas in February, please, sir?
Okay, so February the 19th through the 26th, we are hosting 2 international walking events, one being the Olympiad and the second one being the IML Texas Trail Roundup. And as y'all are aware, this is the first time ever the Olympiad's been hosted in the Americas. So all the activity will kick off on Sunday the 19th. That's when we'll have the opening ceremony. We're planning a sort of like a community walk to engage the local people and have them there present when the parade starts, the parade of flags before the opening ceremony. And then we'll go into the ceremony, and then after that we have set up all week long what we call the Olympiad Village. And this is pretty cool. It's going to be in historic La Villita. So it's a very nice historical setting, if you will, with shops and vendors, and we'll have music the whole week. So we'll have a lineup all week, Sunday through Saturday, of free entertainment. And so that's going to be open probably around the hours of 12 to 6 or 7. Because when it starts to get dark, it'll start getting cold. So probably around 7 p.m. but we'll have a lineup of activities there every day going on for our guests and participants. And that's also going to be open to the public because the vendors that are there, it's going to be like a mini fiesta. I don't know if you've ever been to Fiesta here in San Antonio, but that's kind of the atmosphere. And then then you have the walks, bikes, and swims kicking off Monday morning every day. There's 3 walks scheduled every day. There's 2 bikes and 2 swims. The swim facility is going to be, we're working on it, but it should be really, really nice. It's a place on the north side, so bikers will have to get bused up to the north side. And it's a venue that they use for pre-trials for the Olympics, actually, and those types of events. So it's a real nice venue for the swim. The bike trails are currently getting worked out. All of the walk trails about 80% complete. We're still making some tweaks because we also want to engage the community so that some of the checkpoints will be in strategic locations. We don't just want it out in the park or wherever. You know, we want to maximize as much exposure and visibility as we can for all of us, for what we do, so more people are aware of Volks marching, Volkssporting, what we do. And then on the Olympiad events wrap up on Thursday. And so Thursday is going to be really unique because on Thursday, we're going to have the closing ceremony for the Olympiad. And then there'll be like a short intermission. So we'll have entertainment. There'll be a beer truck around the corner or something in the same venue so people can relax. And then we'll transition into the opening ceremony for the IML. And then that'll take place. And then right after, we're going to have what we're calling a friendship celebration. So this will be hosted in, it's a really nice venue. It's called, it used to be called 1902, and that's kind of what the atmosphere is inside. And the idea there is to support the missions that we're all a part of, is, to create international friendships. And so if you picture it, a place, a venue, where can you go where you're going to meet people from all over the world and just to socialize and have a good time. And so that's kind of the friendship celebration. That'll be for about 3 hours, and then we conclude on Thursday. And then Friday, the IML friendship walk actually kicks off. On Friday, yeah. And then we will also have the general membership meeting on Friday. I believe we just set the time today. That's going to start at 1:30 on Friday afternoon, and that will run probably until 5 o'clock. And then Friday is going to kind of be an open night. Keep in mind, all week long, the rodeo is going on, so people can buy tickets and go to the rodeo if they want. And then Saturday, we have all the IML walks. And then we wrap up on Sunday with the closing ceremony for the IML. In between, probably on those Saturdays, probably on one of the Saturdays and maybe one of the Fridays, we're trying to bring like some headliners, some good musicians, if you will, to come in, and we're looking at renting a small theater venue. It is outdoors, but it's in the same area where the Olympiad Village is going to be. And this will be, really nice music, and it'll be free to all the pass holders. We will sell a limited amount of tickets for people from the community that want to attend, but all pass holders will get into that area free to see those concerts, if you will, mini concerts, if you will. And in the Olympiad Village, there'll be a special section where we have the entertainment. That'll be, if you have a pass, you can only get in that certain area there. So it will be kind of exclusive for pass holders only. We have one other special walk. That's the Margarita and Taco Trail walk. That's going to happen on Tuesday. Doesn't mean you have to do it on Tuesday, but we're advising all of the people that are participating, the vendors, that to expect the walkers on Tuesday. So the way that's kind of set up is that you'll have a passport book. I don't know how many vendors or restaurants will be in that book. I mean, maybe 15 to 20. And these places will be expecting everyone. And so we're asking them to, share with our walkers. They might maybe offer a free shot of tequila or a mini taco to so you could taste what they're serving there. Or if it's a merchandise, they might be offering a discount, or they may offer you coupons to come back and eat there. So they'll be offering some type of thing that's part of their commitment to participate. And so you just go by it's like a pub walk, if you will. You hit these places. It can be any order. You could start at any end of the downtown area, and you get your stamp. They'll stamp your book when you come to their place. And then at the end, when you turn in your book, whenever you complete it, you'll get a special award. I'm not sure what that is yet, but it'll be pretty unique. So that's that walk. Oh, and the celebration. We are going to have hors d'oeuvres and 2 free drinks. That's included in the cost of the entrance to that venue. And so hopefully there'll be heavy hors d'oeuvres, not light, but not dinner either. So. Anything else?
Well, this is Bob. I would encourage people to come, especially our Canadian friends, because it's going to be cold. And in February, the Riverwalk is just spectacular. My wife and I have done it a number of times, and we've spent time in San Antonio. I'll be there for the whole event. I know Diana Marshall, who's the president of IVV-Americas, will also be there. So it'll be well represented, and it'll be a good chance to chat with some of us about your ideas for us.
Yep. And you might want to bring your umbrella, because it could rain at that time of the year. It's good, 50-50, whatever day. So, but in case if you do forget, you can rest assured we'll have some for sale.
Henry, do you think we can organize an IVV-Americas reception or something like that to allow leaders from our respective IVV-Americas countries to kind of come together and talk a little bit about what the program is and actually hold their own reception or something like that?
Excellent idea. And yes, I would. I think there's a couple of, I think there's like 3 things. I know in the last meeting, there was a discussion about maybe you needed to host a meeting. So I can get you a venue free of charge, so you can have your meeting if you need to. You'll just need to give me the details. And then also for the AVA's general membership meeting, I think you should be on the agenda and say a few words. And so we'll get with Nancy on that. And then of course a reception. I'd like to host a couple of them, and we're working on that to get them sponsored, but to include all the delegates and IVV-Americas now, and this is kind of the leadership of the different organizations to congregate. We can't have it for everyone, but we could a good size. We can have it somewhere. Tim, and I welcome your feedback on that if you want to help with that.
Well, I think that one of the things you can do right now, Henry, is invite all the different entities out there, whether they're clubs or state associations, to host checkpoints, and perhaps even host individual components of it. And what opportunities are there for us as state associations or country associations to participate? How can we support this world event in the Western Hemisphere?
Yeah, we're going to need a lot of volunteers, that's for sure. So Susan Panek is chairing that committee, and go to the Olympiad website. There's a link to sign up if you'd like to volunteer. If you're an association, I would reference that, and then she's kind of working out where how that would all look, where the needs are, how can like if a tour company wants to come and host something for a day or a group, what are those areas where we can have a group come in and volunteer in a specific area. So we haven't quite worked out all those details yet, but we welcome everyone to sign up right now. Or at least it's like an interest. I'm interested, I'd like to volunteer, and then she's gonna get back with everyone.
Great, thank you so much. Doug, what are all the Canucks up to when it comes to the event down in Texas? What are you planning, sir?
We've already sub-booked 50 rooms at the La Quinta Hotel. So under the AVA main booking, we sub-booked 50 rooms. We're quickly filling those rooms up. Holly Pelking was in attendance at our Penticton Festival, and Holly took me aside and asked me if we would man one of the checkpoints as a Canadian checkpoint. So we've agreed to do that. We're gathering pins and maple candies and Canadian flags that we're going to, decorate our checkpoint with. So plans are being made. We will be there in force.
That's great. Thank you so much for the support of our hemispherical event, and it's great to be in partnership with with you up in the north. And I'd like to think that what's happening here is the border is dissolving as this COVID thing is going away, and all your beavers are taking away your wood border walls that you've tried to erect between our respective countries, that the borders are coming down, and we are becoming one when it comes to popular sports and Volkssporting in our continent. And I'm so pleased to see that these kinds of relationships are happening. Let's see, DJ Moore, you were asked a question. Is the book you were referring to part of the February events? Can you explain a little bit more what your question is asking, please?
So it's not it's a book exclusively for the walk. It's not part of the either IML or the IVV passport book, or Olympiad Pass, if you will. So it's just exclusive for that one walk. And there is no credit or event credit. It's just kind of a fun thing to do, and then you get the award or prize afterwards.
So this is a Tex-Mexican heartburn award. Is that what this is? You go,
if you can make it to the end. Yeah.
So the idea is to walk restaurant to restaurant, and the one with the most heartburn at the end wins, or something?
Yeah, it's going to be a mix. It could be a restaurant. It might be a microbrewery. It might be a shop. It'll just be a mix of different things. Yeah, you just go and get your stamp and complete them, and then redeem it. I do want to say something on the Olympiad Village for those clubs that want to host a table. It's not really a booth. You'll have a table and 2 chairs. We're going to offer that opportunity to our clubs, and then our friends as well with the IVV-Americas, and anyone else that's part of the federation, national or international. So you do have the opportunity to host a table at the Olympiad Village to market any walks that are coming up, or any events or anything you'd like, and that's going to be free. We're selling those to the businesses to sell their goods or whatever, but we're going to offer one to all clubs free.
And Canada?
Yes, and Canada, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm starting to already look forward to this jalapeno challenge that you've thrown down here. This is going to be rather amazing. My stomach is already looking forward to this. Okay. Bob, you have something, sir?
I was going to say that, most of what we've talked about with IVV-Americas is focused on events, but, I have some bigger ideas that I'm going to be taking to the council with respect to adding new countries. I was thinking maybe we could send somebody to Buenos Aires to live for a couple of years and develop some clubs down there. But at least our friends to the south, there's a large Hispanic community in Texas and in Arizona and California, and it seems to me that we ought to be developing some relationships down there. So that's one of the things I'm going to address. And the other thing is, Doug was mentioning that while we are doing good things, we're not growing the organization. And when I started with Volkssporting in 2004, we were talking about, okay, we've got to go for growth, because we're not growing. And you know, darn it, all these years later, we're still not growing. And maybe IVV-Americas is the vehicle that can give us the kind of visibility that we need to do that. So that's an area that, you know, programs are important, you know, and events are important, but I think at the IVV-Americas level, we're going to work on some other things as well. International sponsors who, you know, are spread all over the world and can get our name out there and help us develop events and that kind of thing. So anyway, so I'm looking very forward to working with IVV-Americas.
Great. And from the programs committee standpoint, we are really taking down the borders. We're looking at what special programs is the CVF hosting and actually marketing them down south of the border if they're appropriate. And we have a number of programs. In fact, we're tweaking some of the rules to our current special programs to make sure that it's not just an AVA sanctioned event stamp, it's any IVV event stamp. So when we were up in Penticton, I found a little free library that would have been a beautiful qualifier. We were walking on rails to trails. Some of the very special programs we're really enjoying down here in America's Walking Club. We had people that our hosting clubs gave us permission to use international stamps. And that's really setting the stage for all of our special programs in the future to be marketed across the border. And we want to see what they're doing and let them market their special programs down to us as well. I'm looking forward to having some of those very special programs and completing them along with our friends up north as well. So I'm in collaboration with my own peer, who is the chair of Sharon, who is the chair of their programs committee. And we are talking and we're watching what each other is up to. And we're going to be truly marketing across the border as one continental entity. So I'm really excited about the opportunities for us to join together. I think that there's a lot of great things going on here. I do want to ask Karen, who put a comment in the chat, and I'm just going to read it because I have no idea what it's saying. Best toque sitting on a Chesterfield on the veranda with a twofer. And I have no idea what that means, but somehow I've studied formally five foreign languages, and I have no idea what that means. So that means my wife and I are gonna have to learn a sixth language here, obviously. So anyway, Karen, you want to explain what that means to me, please?
Well, I'm not even sure if every Canadian knows what a Chesterfield is or whether they sit on their verandas, but 2-4 is a case of beer with 24 beers in it, but we don't call it that. We just call it a 2-4. And the toque, of course, is the beanie hat that sits on your head in the winter, often more in the winter. And the veranda is a porch. And the Chesterfield is a couch.
All right.
But I don't know if Doug Jackson on the West Coast even knew those things, or if it's just particular to certain parts.
Well, Karen, we used all those words in Saskatchewan. So,
yeah. Of course you did.
We know what a toque is. We just don't wear them out here.
No.
You don't need it. Yeah.
Nice.
Show off.
And here I was afraid this whole session was going to turn into a Mike Myers comedy session because the only word I knew was A, and so I wasn't going to use that one until one of you all did. But very good. So all right. So obviously we have some language barriers we're going to have to break down here in order to make this work. But I'm really excited about this and really glad that each and every one of you are with us. I do want to talk about one of the other international events taking place, and that's in October in the Washington, D.C. area, right off the border across the Potomac River is the U.S. Freedom Walk Festival. It is the second and oldest International Marching League event, and in the Western Hemisphere. Yes, allow me to say that. It is, and it now going on its 21st year, and we are actually building. Because we are in a nation's, our nation's capital city, we have always tried to affiliate with local embassies so that we could say we walked from the United States to a certain country and back again in a day. Now, I realize that those of you folks up on the border in the great Northwest walk to Canada and back in a day, and you really do that, but appeal to me, okay, humor me and allow me to say, we're working with the Canadian Embassy, and we're going to use the Canadian Embassy as a checkpoint so that you can say you walk from the many folks walk from the United States to Canada and back in a day without really doing it. But it really is, and the embassy really is that country, so that's what we do. But it is a 3-day festival taking place in the middle of October. We look forward to having you. And the way the International Marching League program works is you advance in their award system by doing three different IML events. Well, guess what? The IVV Olympiad counts as one of those events. The Texas Trail Roundup that follows it in February is one of those events. Well, for the first time in 12 months, we'll actually have a series of 3 available in all of the Western Hemisphere. And as I said, the US Freedom Walk Festival, whether you walk it this October or next October or some time in the future, becomes your 3rd event and the completion of your first series of events. We've never considered it very fair that the Europeans who participate in these IML walks, there are 27 of them. Each country gets up to 2 walks, 2 festivals, as you say in Canada, that can join this what we call world-class series of events. And the Penticton conference was that quality that our national walking conferences are those qualities. It could be those kinds of events, but when it comes to organizing one year after year after year, they go through a series of vetting processes to become International Marching League events, and there are 27 in the world, and it's a rather unique award system that promotes international travel. Now, promoting international travel, and speaking of special programs, you're about to see us kick off the North American Walking Challenge. And the idea is that unlike the IVV-Americas walking program, which is 20 stamps anywhere, and it doesn't require you to do it in multiple countries, this actually will require us to walk across in both the United States and Canada, or any one of the 16 countries of North America. When you look at all the Caribbean islands, there actually are 16 countries in North America, but there are only 2 walking associations. And the goal of this program is to promote cross-border walking. There is not going to be a set time. There is going to be a qualifier for each book. We're going to start with a bronze level award. It's going to look like an Olympic medal, a bronze medal, a silver medal, and a gold medal. So you got to do it 3 times. And the idea is to get 20 walks, and you have to touch at least 2 countries in North America, and you have to have a qualifying series. So getting 4 IVV stamps in the IVV Olympiad is the beginning, is one of those series. Walking in Washington, D.C. and Ottawa, if you get both of those stamps, that is a qualifying series that basically makes it official that you've done it. If you officially cross the border between the United States and Canada 2 times in 2 different walk IVV stamps, that qualifies. There'll be a number of things that will help us to promote walking across, but the idea is that we want to create David Hall and Nancy Wittenberg and I basically all shook hands simultaneously. And I think 3 hands coming together was kind of fun. It was. We were up there in Penticton. We all agreed that this is going to happen. And I'm going to be working with Sharon to promote this unique award system to promote us walking between our respective countries. And again, it's any IVV stamps on both sides of the border, and with some qualifications that really get us to move back and forth. Going to the Kingston, Ontario next Canadian convention, going to with a companion American Volkssport Association national convention. That would be kind of a qualifier. Getting 2 in Kingston, 2 in the United States at our national convention would work as well. So those are the kinds of things we want to mirror our respective programs and shake hands and say, you have to walk on both sides of the border to truly unite us together. And so that's coming very, very quickly as well. We want to definitely have it in place and for those who walked in Penticton, we will accept photocopies of your stamps from Penticton because this is where the program all came together, and we want to make sure that you can make that happen. So we look forward to that as well. So those are some of the fun things that are happening. There is a discussion, a national swim taking place. It is on hold temporarily right now until we get one final decision from the Board of America's Walking Club Board of Directors. It has to do with just an administrative thing. So that is going to come within the next week or 2. I've spoken with Henry down at headquarters and with Nancy, and we're working on that as well. So we're looking forward to marketing those kinds of unique things across our respective borders. So I'm going to turn it back to Doug unless David has shown up, but I don't see him. Doug, I'll throw it back to you for the final words from north of the border, sir.
Well, before I get to final words, a couple of questions. Bob, you'd mentioned there's a report.
Yes.
That was out. Is that available? Would Mish have it? Would Brenda have it?
I believe I sent it to Brenda. She asked for it, and I believe I sent it to her. Nancy also has it, but I think it's probably not something that has to be held confidentially. I'll check with Nancy, and I can send it to you and make sure I send it to, I'm positive I send it to Diana and Brenda.
Brenda, Brenda's online here. Do you have it, Brenda?
Yeah, hi, I'm sorry I'm late. I just drove all through Oregon to get to their Northwest Regional Conference. So I just arrived at about 5:30. So I'm standing out in the portico to talk to you, to watch you.
Well, Brenda, why don't you introduce yourself and the role that you play in the IVV-Americas, please.
I'm Brenda Dudfield. I'm the secretary of the IVV-Americas. I'm the past president of both the VABC, the Volkssport Association of BC. I'm the vice president of the Surrey Trekkers Volkssport Association, Volkssport Club, which is my local club. And I also belong to 3 American clubs, AVA clubs. So I've been involved for quite a while, since 1998 was when we really got serious in this organization. Bob, I do that when I get home, I can send it to Doug.
Okay.
That report that you were talking about, so I can send it to Doug. I'm not going home till Monday of next week.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. That's good. I'd like to read that. Okay. Another thing, will there be a marketing component to the IVV-Americas? Like, will it be, I know we're marketing, as Tim is doing, the walk challenges and the programs. Will there be a marketing component for festivals, for, I know Bob, you'd mentioned membership, growth. I'd like to talk to you about that one day.
Yeah.
Okay, but a marketing component, I'm just wondering how or what, or will there be a special website, IVV-Americas? Will there be a Facebook page? Will there be any plans?
There's already a Facebook page, Doug, for the
There-
IVV Americas.
Oh, right, there is. Okay, good. Thank you.
We're going to be adding and Oceania once we've registered with Industry Canada, because it includes Australia as well and New Zealand, and it
Yes.
can include other islands around the world. Actually, we were told.
Okay, good. Otherwise, it sounds interesting. Tim and I talked in Penticton, and I told Tim that what really needs to happen is we need the top 4 or 5 reasons, you know, why IVV-Americas is a positive. We need talking points. We need, you know, the chatter amongst the membership, you know, in order to, you know, get some rah. You know, we need the membership behind this. It can't just be the few 25 people out of 12,000, you know, Volkssporters that are in North America. You know, we need the general population, I think, behind this to make this work, or to make Volkssporting work. So yeah, it'll be an interesting process, and I'm in the discovery stage still at the moment. And I thank Tim for his 4 reasons so far, you know, as to why. I've got them all typed out. And yeah, it's good for, you know, a starting point. So yeah.
Well, I was hoping the number 5 would be, everybody turn on your camera right now. We're going to take a screenshot of all the faces from around the continent. So everybody turn on your camera, please. Come on, let's see. I want faces here. All I got is names. Come on, everybody turn.
There.
All right, faces, come on, faces. Oh, come on. Y'all can do this. Come on, you're all not in your bathrobes. I know you're not. So, come on. All right, so we're getting close. All right, well, we'll start with this and we'll work on it. But the idea is that here we are coming together, and in a couple of months we'll have the Continental Toque competition online. And so thank you very much for doing that, but we'll post this up as one of the 5 reasons for us for having the IVV-Americas, is the idea of fellowship across the continent and across the hemisphere. And that's really a critical thing. For those of us that were there in Penticton, enjoyed the really great hospitality of our friends from up north. We're still talking about it. We're still reminiscing of the great time there, and we're sharing pictures of that, and we'll continue to do that. So anyway, what a great opportunity. Bob Morrison, back to you, sir. I guess we're coming towards the final minutes. So what final comments would you like to make on behalf of?
Well, a couple things that I learned coming back from Penticton. Sheila and I, Sheila grew up in Nova Scotia, by the way. So, you know, she could always get into Canada, but it wasn't always so easy for me to get into Canada. But we got Nexus cards about 3 years ago and had never used them until just recently. So coming back into the United States, we flicked them on to the camera, and it read them immediately, and it was welcome back into the United States. And how much liquor are you bringing back this time? But that's a great asset to have. So, you know, everybody that's planning to go to and from Canada to the United States and back, if you don't have one, it's worth the $50 for 5 years to get one. And you know, other than that, I think it's pretty well all been said, but I think IVV-Americas, to speak to Doug's points, does need to focus on marketing. That's, you know, marketing not only our events, but in the United States, we have a program where we have community events. So they're not the typical IVV sanctioned events, but they're designed for the community. And perhaps we need to reach out to the broader community and focus on that sort of thing as we move forward. But going to be an exciting experience, and I think it's going to be fun, and nobody's going to be left behind, except somebody that doesn't bring a 24.
Twofer, it's twofer. All right, it's twofer. It's called a twofer. As we have just learned, it is a twofer. You got to bring a twofer.
Yeah.
All right, for Doug, Doug's question. The United States State Department actually has a sports tourism department, and actually I'm connecting to them, and actually has started to reach out to them to show what we're doing. I don't know what exists in the Canadian, but I'm hoping our affiliation with the Canadian Embassy will help us. This idea of cross-promoting sports events, and we are officially sports tourism is the way we're looked at here, at least in some of our states. So there is an opportunity to show one of the URLs for websites that we actually own and have owned is Walking Diplomacy. The idea that we are actually doing diplomacy at 3 miles an hour. And that is kind of the concept. We've never used it, but it exists, and we could turn it on, and the IVV-Americas gives us the opportunity to do those kinds of things. I'm looking forward to working with you to find what kind of press releases can we jointly do between Walking Press in Canada and Walking Press here in the United States that promote these cross-border sorts of events. I'm convinced that international friendship is a really big thing that we have as a credible and credential that we can carry forward, and making friends at 3 miles an hour is pretty special and worth us working on together. So these are the kinds of things that I think are being brewed right now, as we say. They're sitting on the wort, and for those who are into beer and know what all that's about. So we're brewing them here and making our own 2-4 together. How about that sort of thing? Well, we've come to the end of our hour, and any last questions? Those who knew how to raise your hand in Zoom, I don't see any hands. I don't see any other questions. Other than that, wow, what a great opportunity to come together. And I really, really appreciate our international friends coming and joining with us. And we look forward to doing this. Let's perhaps do this on a pretty regular basis. And Doug, you and I can talk about how we might do that when it's your turn to host or our turn to host. But we really look forward to learning from each other and actually becoming a bigger walking family together. So with that, any final comments from any of our senior leaders? Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for walking the American continent together. And on behalf of all of us, again, the only Canadian word I know is A. So again, thank you so very much for joining us here at our online party. And it's your turn to bring the moose head next time. And all righty. So on behalf of all of us, thanks again. We look forward to seeing you again, and if not in October, then definitely in February in San Antonio, and definitely online before then. So thanks again. Bye to everyone.
Thank you, Tim.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night, Brenda.
See you tomorrow, Brenda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was nice seeing you all.
Yeah, I'm glad I joined.